My darling, it is going to be okay. It's going to be just fine. Actually, it's going to be better than okay. And the time is maybe 3 p.m., 2002. I'm standing between two things. The first one is this red phone booth. You remember the phone booths that we used to have? Tony Red. And then, maybe 2 meters, 3 meters away from the red phone booth is yellow-beaked, white-feathered seagulls, which tells you that I'm somewhere near an ocean, sea, big water. And these birds are squawking. You know, they're not making a merry little sound. I need to use the red phone booth. And the seagulls won't let me be. This is a long time ago. There was no cell phones, or if there were those very big ones, and you had to be very rich, which I wasn't. And if the phone booth did that Kenyan thing and swallowed my coin, then I was done. Because I was very, very far away from home, and I had this coin. It seemed surreal, like from a book. I had a coin. I had one coin, and it was very new. It was a dollar coin, and it was new and shiny, and I had a red phone booth and squawking seagulls, and every time I tried to chase them away, the Mzungus would look at me like, what sort of African is this that's chasing away our beautiful birds? But I needed for whomever I was calling to hear what I needed to say quickly and not ask me many questions, because I was broke. And I was far away from home. And I didn't know many people. I had been there, say, 2 weeks. I had school fees, a check, and some living expenses, but they'd been put in a banker's check, a Kenyan check, in Australia. And they were like, no, it needs to go through several checks and balances before we clear it and actually give you the money. And I hadn't counted on that happening. And I just needed to call somebody who wouldn't ask me many questions and would just give me the solution I needed. Everybody in life needs one of those friends who will get it, who will understand that this is not the time for many questions, just to do. The coin was not swallowed, thankfully. And in the meantime, I took my jewelry. I had a little jewelry. I was maybe 28 or 29, so I'd had a few boyfriends before then, and I had a little jewelry. And I took it to a pawn shop, and I pawned my jewelry, just like the movies. I stood there, and they told me 18% per month, and they gave me $75, and that was it. Until that red phone booth thing happened, that's all I had. A few months later, I had this internship at Barrick Gold. And I worked so hard because it was so rare. It was a mining company. It still is. And it was so rare for them to give a woman in a mining company a job, let alone a woman of color, a black one, a student, a foreign one. I worked hard. And I was still doing my doctorate. I worked so hard. And I did so much overtime. But they figured I was doing the overtime because you get paid overtime because you're an intern. And within a few months, they actually came and offered me a real job. They even got me a work permit. They loved my work and my work ethic. In fact, when I started working full-time, I could see some of them waiting to see, after the end of the month, if I'd be surprised that my salary didn't include any overtime. But this was me. I am very disciplined when I decide to be, and to face something, and to follow something, and to chase something. And I was suddenly leading teams. I had a job that I was a project lead for Asia Pacific, Australia, Asia Pacific, and Africa. I was leading teams, huge teams, doing big things with huge budgets. I was suddenly flying in business class. That was huge for me. And not only business class, but I remember when I checked in and they tell you, they're so accustomed, if any of you are air hostesses or men things, don't get insulted, but they do that. You're black, so obviously you must be going this side. And I would so love to enter and just point them into this direction. So it's business class. And not only was it business class, it was upper business class. You climb stairs. I didn't even know planes have upstairs. So it was a lot for me. And I was suddenly leading this cross-continent teams. I was having meetings in downtown Toronto, in little French bistros, having duck served in cassoulet, and drinking French Bordeaux. Me, the one of the pawned, remember the burgers, the pawned things? Pawned my jewelry for food, the $1. You can hit rock bottom and survive it. I so learned that. I like Willis was in these buildings, it's downtown Toronto, they are so tall. When you look out of the window, it's like clouds. Maybe it was fog, but for me it was clouds. And then little cars far away. And I'm doing presentations in boardrooms in this building. It was a lot. But I was good because I needed to prove that we can do it. You can be female and black from Africa and do it and deliver. Because I figured that somebody else will come behind me and I'll have opened a door. It doesn't matter whom. But it behooved me that I was standing in those spaces, that I did the best job I could. I wanted to use a four-letter word. I chose not to. So, I'm in Toronto, and I faced another red phone booth, seagulls situation. I was being offered a job in Toronto, like a global job. The company's Barrick Gold. It's the world's largest gold mining company. It still is. This, remember, is almost 10 years ago. But I wanted more. I had the audacity to dare to want more. If you're on the outside looking in, why would anybody want more? You have everything. But I wanted babies. I just wanted babies. I was 30-something, and I'd had a laparoscopy, and they'd said, yeah, everything's fine in there, but you need to, yeah. And I had a man. He was black, he was an environmental scientist, he wasn't rich, but he loved me well. And I saw for myself babies and him. I could be, if I could be this successful so far away from home, in such a challenging and different environment, surely I could replicate it here and maybe even better. And I could be that woman who leaves the boardroom and comes home and cooks. I cook very nice samaki, ya kupaka, ya kuku. I even know how to sit down and pack kuna nazi. That wasn't part of my stories because you guys laughed. So I wanted someone I could be a woman for, a wife, mother his children, be a friend, be just an African woman. I could do the boardroom and be an African woman, a wife, a mother, a friend. I wanted this. And I had the man to do it with. And I had an ovulation calendar. You get into the internet. You print it. You organize everything. 6 months. And then I put everything on the high seas, on the boat. My 6 years in Australia, packed it up, much to the consternation of the Canadians, that the offer in Toronto, I would rather, if you don't have an offer in Africa, I'm going home. So I get on the plane, my stuff is on the high seas, and I come home. Ovulation calendar in the one hand, and on Monday morning, I get the phone call. It's Monday morning. And he says, I'm not coming on Monday. And there's a way, in the way he said, I'm not coming on Monday, that didn't feel like Monday is not the issue. So, I say, you're not coming on Monday? Willing the person to save the day. And he said, no, I'm not coming on Monday, I'm not coming this Monday, I'm not coming next Monday, I'm not coming on any Monday. And on my way home, I made my ex-girlfriend pregnant. And so there's a child on the way, you see. So I'm not coming home. I'm not coming on Monday. I'm not coming. I honestly didn't realize I was crying until there was the tarmac. It was darker. There were darker things. Imagine what type of tears you're crying until they hit the floor and turn it. Tears. I remember going down to check, and I'm on the phone. And I'm thinking, would anybody be so cruel? At that time, I hit a block mentally. I'd planned to come and, whilst ovulating and things, finish my PhD, whilst looking for a job, having the baby. It was all planned out perfectly. I hit a block. But mostly because I think of embarrassment. It was such shame, such public shame for me, for my family. I mean, I'd been put on a plane to go get a PhD, and I'd come back. No PhD, no big hotshot job, no man, no babies, no nothing. What's the use? I was so debilitated with embarrassment that I stopped. I hit rock bottom again and stopped. And it was hard because I'd come from so high. It's something about falling, but there's something about falling from very, very high. Imagine I'm trying to be sad here, you guys. So, in that time, a lot of things happened. I ended up, remember my not poor parents and their no nonsense kicked me out. Because I'm just there, I'm not writing my doctorate, I'm just reading my Bible, I'm not just there. It seemed like you're just enjoying too much. You don't have enough pressure. Out, go figure it out. And I was kicked out, most likely in love, but I was kicked out. And I lived in a place called Ngando, just near the rubbish things. And I would have to cross a sewer to go and buy half a loaf of bread, and you needed to time that purchase, because if it wasn't just so, no one else will buy the half loaf with you, because the person selling it won't sell because itakauka. This other slice will dry if there's no one to... You get it? And I slept on a fridge curtain, not because I owned a fridge. I had traveled upper business class like a year and a half earlier. First forward, I also got the fantastic opportunity, as Martin did, to join BAT, maybe a year into that season of difficulty. Because this doesn't change if you choose for it not to change. It doesn't matter that you're on a fridge curtain. It doesn't matter how low your rock bottom gets. You just decide, here will not change. And soon I was back flying. I was leading teams. I had a fantastic career at BAT. I hadn't given up on finding my man to be my priest, provider, protector over me, my someone to watch over me. I hadn't given up on that. I hadn't given up on wanting to have babies. And perhaps one day I'll get the chance to tell you that other part of the story, where on missing a flight, I end up meeting this man on a Saturday evening. So it's okay to miss flights, you meet men. And he proposes. I meet him on Saturday evening. He tells me about his whole life in a very unassuming way. He wasn't trying to impress me. He was speaking from his belly. And he proposed on Thursday, the same week. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful that in another phone booth and seagull situation that I met my priest, provider, protector. I managed to get the babies, I thank God. I had some very traumatic pregnancies, 2 of them back to back. The babies survived, I thank God. My marriage did not. That's another story. But my babies, my daughters, were my seagirls, and they still are. This evening, the first Saturday of September, my original priest, provider, protector, my someone to watch over me, my daddy, was always my daddy. This evening, 12 months ago, exactly today, first Saturday of September, he suffered a fatal cardiac arrest. And I remember running into Nairobi Hospital and diving under the bed, the thing where he was, and lifting the curtain, and he was there, because they'd called me frantically, and he was there. So I was okay, because he was there. I didn't realize that he wasn't there. That's been one red phone booth situation that I haven't quite managed to get out of and identify the seagirls in that situation and rise above, but I'm very sure I will. I'm very sure I will, because he expects me to, and because I can, and because I'm alive, and because I have the opportunity to be. So I am choosing to live boldly, to live largely, to be intentional about being alive, because I am. It doesn't matter that it is still very painful for me. It doesn't matter that I'm still waiting for another someone to watch over me. It does matter that I am alive and I have a choice to live the best life I can. I have a choice. It behooves me. It behooves us all.